And it was like, if you need to get money now, what are you going to do? If your life depended on it, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go with that? And ask yourself that question and figure it out. It doesn't matter, like, swallow that pride, make those phone calls, ask for the business if that's what it takes. We all have our sphere of influence that we neglect, and sometimes to our own detriment. And I am guilty of it.
Why do you feel that seller leads are more important or more valuable than buyer leads right now?
Seller lead is the core of your business, right? You could, of course, make a living being, focusing on buyers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to be in control of your own destiny, being proactive in your business, seller leads is the way to go. How you manage where you spend your time and focus, seller leads is going to ultimately generate buyer leads as well. That's your greatest path, the easiest path to multiply your business.
I agree. It's funny. When I was selling real estate, my whole focus was seller leads. I didn't even buy buyer leads. I just 100% focused on sellers because I figured if I've got all the listings, I'll get all the buyers. But first, I got to go get all the listings. And so I just made that my focus and my priority, and away I went. And man, it really paid off. It really did.
Easier said than done, though, right? That's the trick. I mean, I think we all recognize the value in seller leads, that we all want the listings because that's the inventory. But the hard part is, how do you go about getting them? Where are you going to find them? I mean, there's so many ways to skin a cat, so to speak, right? I mean, everything from farming to calling cancels and expireds to, working your sphere of influence. I mean, it's endless how many different ways you can go about getting it.
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, so let's talk about that, because a lot of people are paying money for seller leads right now. And what you've done is you've essentially put together a formula that allows you to kind of manufacture these leads on your own without having to pay for them. And you're going at it from a couple of very unique angles that not a lot of people utilize. And frankly, a lot of people won't, because it takes a little bit of work, and a lot of people are afraid of work. And if the people watching this, if you're not sure you're one of them, check your bank account and that'll tell you. But let's assume that someone's not afraid of work. They're willing to get in there and get at it. Exactly what can they do to manufacture these seller leads?
What we're doing is, it's not novel, but it's not typically pursued. And what we are doing is we are using services like PropStream or Property Radar to create lists. We want to target certain property owners. In particular, we are currently trying to go after investors, maybe people that are tired landlords, people that have owned properties for a long time. There's also some other lists like death of joint tenants, or somebody who has, what else? A notice of default on the property. These are typically scenarios where somebody would be more inclined to sell, higher probability of selling rather than an investor that maybe bought a home 2 years ago, right? That's not somebody that I'm interested in talking to or spending the time to try to pursue. So we're trying to create the list where we feel like we're going to have the greatest, where we're no longer looking for a needle in the haystack, but there's a lot of needles in that haystack that we're going after.
Okay, but to be very transparent, these are not people that have opted in. These are just cold calls that you're making, essentially.
Straight up cold calls.
And I love that, because so many people say, oh, cold calls don't work, right? And the reality is, listen, if you're really serious about your perfect daily schedule, at some point in time, you're going to need to do more than just call leads, because you're not going to have enough leads to call, because you're going to be calling through them so fast. And so what you're doing now is you're creating a whole nother list of people you can call that's got a fairly high likelihood of converting to an actual listing at some point.
Right.
And it doesn't cost you a bunch of money per lead. Because I mean, for a decent seller lead, you're paying, a low end, you're $100, and high end in your market, especially, you could be $700-800 or more for a seller.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, for one lead. And here, what you're saying is, screw that. I'm just going to grab all these numbers. I'm going to sort through them, figure out, who's more likely to sell, and I'm going to just call them. How many are you getting? Like, let's roughly how many? What
Probably
number?
About 5 to 9 a day.
5. Did you say 5 to 9 a day?
A day.
Yeah, dude, that's huge. And so, okay, so you're adding 5 to 9 people to your database per day, and it's just 5 to 9 calls, but it doesn't cost you any money for these. What does it take? What are the numbers? What does this look like? So first of all, you're calling them. What are you saying?
The way I have set it up, there's some cost to it in that I have hired ISAs to help me with it. But it doesn't mean I couldn't do it myself, right? I don't like to use the word script, but call it outline, is going to be different depending on the kind of list, right? So if we're dealing with investors, let's just say we're dealing with tired landlords, maybe somebody that's owned a property for over 15 years, especially if you hit year 27, because depreciation has run out for a lot of those people, and they've lost a significant tax advantage where, hey, we want to bring that to their attention and see if they're open to possibly selling the property. And oftentimes, if you hold on to a property that long, they might just be really interested. It might be a tired landlord to be looking to sell. Oftentimes, we see that I think multi-unit properties tend to be, those owners tend to be a little bit more receptive to what we're saying. And we're just going in there talking to them about their situation. I don't have the exact outline in front of me, but, we'll say, we acknowledge we're calling out of the blue, and just get right to it. Hey, are you interested? Have you thought about selling your investment property at 123 Main Street? We're calling a lot of investors like yourself, and we have interested buyers that are thinking about doing 1031 exchanges. Is that something that you might be interested in? And then obviously, it does two things. One, it shows that we're calling you just like we're calling other people. We're calling you about possibly selling your property, but the people that we're calling just like you are also interested in doing 1031 exchanges. So are you thinking about selling? Are you thinking about buying? It kind of takes both of those things and put it together and see if there's any interest. And if they're curious, what does that look like? Tell me about your property. We could run some numbers. And then that's when the ISA puts that lead into our Google form. We have a Zap that goes from the Google form into our CRM. And then now, that gets imported in there. And then now we in that Google form, we'll have a link to the recorded phone call. We'll listen to the recorded phone call and then follow up from there. And then if that lead still needs further nurturing, we have a dedicated ISA who's been trained on how to nurture these things to bring them to fruition, to the place where it's time for us to step and handle that seller at that point.
Okay, so you've been doing this for how long now, this particular strategy?
About 90 days.
About 90 days. And you've been getting about 5 to 8 of these leads a day.
Yeah.
And you're running them through this process. What's coming out the back end so far in the first 90 days? How many appointments, how many listings, all that?
I don't have the total number of appointments, but I will tell you that we have 2 live listings, 1 coming soon. We have appointments set up to pick up 2 new listings in the next couple of weeks, and a lot of nurtures. We blew a couple of opportunities trying to figure this thing out. Oftentimes, there's complications with some of these deals because it's an investor who may be wanting to sell might have a problem tenant. They don't want to deal with that tenant anymore. And so now we're inheriting that problem, and they're also looking for other solutions. And so I think we were maybe a little bit slow to act and slow to recognize what we need to do. But, look, lessons learned. But we have a pretty decent pipeline of people that we're nurturing and following up with. In fact, today we just got a verbal confirmation from an owner, a land developer. He owns 21 lots in a gated community. And he's told us, we'll give you 3% to find off-market buyers for me. So we've got 21 lots to sell that are considered luxury lots in our area, 1/3 to a half an acre. That just happened today. That's going to be fun. Just try to figure that out. So now we're going to have to go reach out to all the developers we know. And then we're going to establish those relationships with those people and say, hey, this is what we've got. It's off market. You come to us. We're the off market kings. I don't know. We'll make something up like that where that takes us. And maybe we'll develop that relationship, and then we can get listings over there as well.
Okay, so let's back up. First 90 days, you start doing this. You're cold calling investors and people that, so give me run down that list for me one more time. It's investors.
Yeah, look, we're investors, death of joint tenants, NODs, tired landlords. Those are like the ones that come to my mind. Okay, that have been working so much. We have some other lists. Those, I think, those are my favorites.
Perfect. Okay. And you're getting about 5 to 8 of those a day. You've done this for the last 90 days. You're just cold calling them straight up saying, hey, you're interested in thinking about, doing a 1031, either buying or something additional or just, offloading this one. And the results so far are lots of hand raisers. Don't know the exact number, but tons of hand raisers. And then you've had literally 2 listings taken already, 2 more listings coming, and then 21 off-market lots that you can dish off date on. So let's just talk about the 2 listings you've taken and the 2 that it sounds like you're taking now. What's the average sales price there, do you think? Ballpark.
One's for 1.1 in Santa Rosa, which is 2 hours away from us, more than 2 hours away from us, which is way outside of my normal market area, by the way. And I've just come to the conclusion that I'm just going to cover the whole state. I don't care.
Sure.
I'm just going to go for it. And it's different, especially when you're working with investors. That's actually possible.
Yeah.
And then we have another one. We have one that's going to close.
1.1.
Yeah, we have one that's going to close at the end of this month. We've got a great deal for our lender who's actually going to be buying it for $385 here. That's local. Mm-hmm. We have it coming soon. This weekend, it'll be listed in South Lake Tahoe, which is 2 hours in the other direction. Mm-hmm. That's a 3-unit home over there for about $700,000. Mm-hmm. So there's that one. I don't even know what the prices are of that one just yet. Okay. Talking it over.
Essentially, we're running at about, let's call it about a $700,000 average sales price
so far.
Yeah. So far.
Yeah. Trying to work out an 8-unit deal down in Stockton for $800,000, $900,000, that range.
Okay, so then the real question is, what has it been worth it so far? And the answer,
definitely, because we're just scratching the surface. We're terrible at it.
Yeah,
let's just be real. Like anything else, when you're just starting it out, I didn't expect to have that many people, that many leads coming in, and then now it's okay. That's a lot of follow up. That's a lot of management, and so now we're trying to solve that problem because there's some unexpected results, and I've been trying to figure out how do I probably need to pull back on that while we're getting caught up to make sure that we're not dropping the ball with everything, with all of our efforts. I want to make sure that we're capturing all the opportunities and not letting them slip through our fingers just because I got somebody to say, yeah, talk to me about what an offer might look like. And then I don't get back to them. That's ridiculous. So that stuff just piles up. Even if we just went with 9 times, the 25 a week, 100 a month, do that for 3 months at 300. Are you kidding me? That's a lot of conversations to have. And it's a lot of CMAs to do. That's a lot of convincing you're going to have to do. It's a lot of just nurturing that relationship. And we got to go down to Monterey. Yeah, I know. Totally.
Yeah.
That reminds me, we have to go down to Pacific Grove. Actually, you know what? Probably next week we'll go down to Pacific Grove, which is Monterey Peninsula. Guy's got a duplex down there he wants to sell, and then another property down there he wants to sell. And that's like my hometown too. So, that's going to be cool.
Dude, that's awesome. I love it. Okay. So here's where I'm going with this. What really excites me about this, first of all, how much time do you spend on this entire process each day? Ballpark. You personally?
An hour.
And
because I've got other people helping me.
Okay. Now, but you got other people doing the administrative side, but you're the one making the calls, right?
Me and one other person on my team who's doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many hours is that person spending on it?
He's spending a good amount. He's probably spending at least 4 hours.
So between you and him, it's a total of 5 hours a day. Yeah. And it's already resulted in the first 90 days in 2 listings at an average sales price of $700 with 2 more coming, also at an average sales price of around $700, maybe even a hair more. But at the end of the day, that's 4 it's 4 listings in the first 90 days, we'll call it. That's really good for 5 hours a day. And I think if someone were, a total of 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so I think if somebody were doing the math on this, they would soon find that this can be a very, very way to add to your business, especially if you're in tier 1 or tier 2. Let's say you're doing less than,
definitely
transactions a year, and you just need to get some money rolling in.
Well, and here's the thing: we're terrible at it. Yeah. Like we're just getting started. We're working out the kinks. We're figuring out, we're new to us. I'm sure somebody else has done it before, right? But it's new to us, and we don't have any guidance. So we're trying to figure it out as we go along. And we're seeing where maybe we overinvested in some areas of time and effort with the ISAs. We need to slow that down, make sure we're catching up on this end, and that we're not dropping the ball because we've had conversations and then failed to follow up. We've made those mistakes. The mistakes are going to happen, but we're working it out. And we said this is very promising.
Well, and one of the things I also love, Mark, is your to fail forward and just willingness, but almost eagerness to fail forward, right? And I think as a prerequisite, especially right now, I think you've got a lot of people who have just, it's been really easy to be successful in real estate. It's like taking candy from the babies here this last 15 years. And then all of a sudden the market shifts and it gets a little bit tighter and it gets a little tougher and you got to work a little harder and you got to follow up a little more and you got to make a few more calls and you got to do all the stuff. And so many people are just afraid to look foolish, or they're afraid to fail, and so they do nothing. Well, you the opposite approach. You said, "Screw that! I'm going to go out there. I'm going to fail for it. I'm going to figure it out." And right now we suck at it, and it's working really well. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when it's working great.
I'm actually really excited about it because I could envision doing this outside of California as well, and working referrals with other agents and other partners in other states. I could see this has the ability to scale.
Sure.
That's what's really cool about it. If we can work out the kinks and work out the process and get better at it, and then we could look to scale it, I could see all of that possibly happen.
Absolutely. Dude, I love it. I'm super excited about it. Okay. So that said, if you guys have questions for Mark, type them into the chat. We'd be happy to answer your questions. In the meantime, what I want to do is I want to switch gears just for a second, Mark. So how long have you been a real estate agent now altogether?
It's about 2005. Oh, and by the way, I do want to credit my partner, James. He's been like amazing at this, and really, I can't take all the credit. I want to be very clear about that. He's a rock star. He's the one that's kind of like the heart and soul of this too. So, I definitely want to give him credit for all the success we've had so far.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay. So credit to James. And that being said, you've been doing this since about 2005. What have been I want to kind of walk through the timeline of when you started selling real estate till now, kind of how did you get started? What were the things that the challenges you encountered? How did you overcome those? What were some of the major milestones? Just walk us through the journey. And if I'm a new agent today,
it's an interesting journey.
That's one here. By the way, Eric Anthony's on. What's up? Shout out to Eric Anthony. It's good to see you, brother. He says he lives right down the street from you. Go ahead, Mark. Tell us about the journey. Let me about this.
So it started out great. 2005, 2006 was good. 2005, I open houses. I did just primarily open houses back then, and it worked out pretty well. Made money in 2005 for my first year in the business. I want to say probably made about $80,000. And
doing open houses.
Yeah. Doing open houses 2005 as a first full year in real estate. That's pretty darn good. And I think I started in April. And so that's what happened there. And then in 2006 was an amazing first 6 months. In fact, June of 2006, I made $40,000 that month while I was on my honeymoon in Maui. And a lot of it just came from new home sales. It was just new home sales, checks in the mail, right? Like easy. And then I didn't make another closing for 5 months.
Oh,
yeah. And then that was the beginning of the end. Because as we know, what happened after 2006, 2007, 2008, right. And then the whole thing just, I did not know how to adapt to that new market. It was, my volume got cut in half, and then home prices got cut in half. So my income got cut in 3/4. And I had to take a job for a little bit. And that was really rough, a little pride swallowing, and that was hard to do. But I eventually got back into real estate, but just still hanging on by barely. I really wasn't, to be honest with you. I ended up having to file bankruptcy. I ended up having to do an offer and compromise with the IRS. It was just, and then my wife had to develop a chronic illness, and she couldn't work. And so it was just, I was literally out there putting resumes for jobs, working for the state that wouldn't even pay the bills. And it was the ultimate story of thank God for unanswered prayers, because I had a hookup. The guy put my resume on the top of the pile. He worked for the employee, the EDD. I forget what it stands for, but yeah, he put my resume on the top, and I didn't even get a phone call. But I put my license out in somewhere in the Bay Area just to hang it. Like, I'll just leave it with you. You're not going to be charged any monthly fees and that kind of thing. And then in 2013, I accidentally made money that year. And what I mean by accidentally made money is that like, hold an open house and then kind of got lucky, and then picked up a listing, kind of got lucky. And it was just a lot of luck went my way. My broker over there, she's just this genius woman, incredible. She was a short sale queen. She was smarter than any attorney. She could work any deal in the courts. It doesn't matter. And she'd be working the Sacramento market from Santa Clara. And then she'd be like, hey, this person wants to write an offer. Can you write the offer for him? Okay, thanks. And I just there's a $10,000 paycheck. Thank you so much. You're amazing, right? And then 2013 ended up being my best year ever. Mm-hmm. And then I had to decide, am I in or out? And that's when I was like, okay, at the end of 2013, I made the decision, I'm all in. And what I mean by that is I took the first 2 months of 2014 to really figure out my business plan. How am I going to make this work and be proactive? Because it was in 2013 when we were able to have a friend of ours move in with us to help take care of my wife at the time. And because she was dealing with those health issues and being in the wheelchair and those kinds of things. And it allowed me to, for the first time, focus on work instead of being the mom, the dad, the cook, the nurse, everything. It was just a lot for one person to handle. And having that in the house allowed me to just get all my creative juices out, right? To really figure it out and be proactive. And I was working till 11 o'clock every night because I had just so much pent up energy of I'm going to do this, right? And then I came out with a plan of just attacking a farm where I lived. And I was almost to the point of saying, I don't care if you live in the neighborhood next door. I don't want the business. I am going to be everything in this one little market, these 2,000 homes.
Like most California agents.
Yeah, I just went for it. And I went for it. And then I was, I think in 2013, it was a good year. 2014 was.
Hold on, back up. I want to back up to what happened with the farm. So
okay, yeah. Well,
so the farm. Decide, I'm just going to work this one little neighborhood. How long did you do it? How much did you spend? How much time and money? And what was the result?
In the beginning, I wasn't spending too much. I just got a website and I basically named it after the farm. My farm. The area over here is called Anatolia, so I got AnatoliaHomesForSale.com. Nothing, right. Which really pigeonholed myself in the long run. So I moved away from that eventually, but that's where I was. I'd get these little yard signs. I'd put them in the ground and all around the community. Visit today, AnatoliaHomesForSale.com with my DRE number in there. Not even my name. I figured people wanted to know what I knew. They didn't want to know me. So I didn't make it about me. It wasn't MarkDaya.com. It was AnatoliaHomesForSale.com. And then I just walk the neighborhood, put flyers indoors, visit the website. And all the website had information about the HOA, had information about the schools, had information about the homes for sale in the area, that whole thing. And then it was a newer community. So it was a newer zip code. And that worked out really well for online ads, like Zillow. You could buy a zip code. Well, that zip code was Anatolia. That was the main community in that zip code. So it was really easy for me to capitalize and say, look, I'm the expert. This is my website. It's called Anatolia Homes for Sale. So you don't have to go to Zillow anymore. And back then, Zillow wasn't accurate either. So that was really good. So I would tell them to come to my website instead. And that worked out well. And what ended up happening is that in 2014, I want to say I sold 28 homes altogether. In 2015, I sold 52.
How many of those were in Anatolia?
A lot. It was over half of it was.
So hold on. Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. So what you're saying is, Mike, I set a plan in place. I went out. I started work in this farm area.
Yeah.
I got hyper focused on it. I knocked doors. I dropped off flyers. I made phone calls. I did everything I could inside that area. I bought the Zillow zip code for that area. I bought, other lead sources in that area. And how long did you do this before it started paying off?
It started paying off pretty fast. It started paying off I did the website on March 1st. I figured out all my vendors. I figured out everything I needed to do January and February. March 1st, I was like, let's go. We're going live now. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact results from 2014. And, that was a while ago. But that's what I did to get it off the ground, to get it going. So I started getting some of those results pretty quickly. And 2015 was my breakout year. right? Because 2014, I think I was second in the zip code for sales. And then 2015, I was number one after that. But even then, it's funny. I'll never forget this. I had a listing appointment. I went in there, and then the guy told me, "No offense, I have no idea who you are." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Because the guy, to get to his house, has to drive by one of my for sale signs on the corner,
Right.
like every.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? That's my fault. So then I started developing a newsletter that would go out. And then, but I didn't want to do a newsletter like everybody else does because it's going to get thrown away. I wanted to stop people in their tracks. So what I did is I got an 11 by 17, folded in half. So it became a 4-page newsletter on cardstock, high gloss, nice graphics, the whole thing. Very eye-catching. You'll throw it away, but you're going to give it the respect it deserves first before you throw it away, right? Like, oh, okay, wow. Who did this? Okay, that's who did it. Okay, now it's in the garbage. that's what would happen in people's homes, and again, that just helped propel me even more to get more and more business in the neighborhood. And then, like literally within a week or two of that, I was going to the local Starbucks, and they're like, "Oh, you're Mark. You're the guy that sends out those newsletters." It was like that. It had an immediate impact, but it was a high quality piece that went out, and I managed to design it and print it locally and get it delivered all for 54 cents a door.
Wow.
Print it for, yeah.
That's great.
Yep. 54, I think it was 54 cents a door, that 4-page delivered on that card stock folded in half.
Perfect.
Which is cheaper than a postcard.
So you did that for how long?
I did that all the way until I opened my office.
So then which was how long ago? About 2 years ago?
About two and a half years ago. Yeah.
So I guess this is the big question, Mark. Why aren't you doing it today if it works so well?
Well, okay. So my office lease is a triple net retail location, and it's very expensive. So I figured I have my beautiful signage on top of my office would kind of take over that branding effect. But little did I know that as often as I try to have an event over here, people would come by and say, "Oh, I didn't know you were here." Like, you shop next door at the grocery store. Like, I'm in line with the grocery store. How do you not know I'm here? Years later, they don't know I'm here. And I thought that having that physical sign would compensate for it. Because look, it's about money. I was looking to save money. I'm spending way more money on the lease than I was on the newsletters. But, maybe I should have kept the newsletter and the lease.
Okay, so then I guess here's the question. Is it too late? Can you start?
No, it's on my to go back to.
On the list of things to go back to. And yet it was so important to you that you came on our podcast on Club Wealth TV, and it was one of the most important pieces to you in the way.
It was.
And so the reason, and you said, more than 50% of your business at one point was coming from that one area. Yeah. And so I guess this begs the question, Mark, are you going to start sending that newsletter out tomorrow?
All right. I'll get back to the design of it.
Okay, so we need that newsletter to go out right away. I mean, because here's the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is, it works exactly how to make it work.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm guessing nobody else has gone in and taken over that area yet, so you still have time to go back in there and get more aggressive and take it back over.
No, but somebody did rip off my old copy of my old format and is copying it and using it in the same area.
Yeah, well, okay, it's what it is.
That's okay. I'll come back.
Yes, you need to get in there and just do it better, right?
Well, that's what it is. But what's interesting is that person has not picked up any real listings in that neighborhood. So it makes me wonder.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. Because
I have some
that person lives nearby.
Okay, so they're nearby. So what? Here's the thing. Do you think they're making the phone calls? Do you think that they're knocking the doors? Do you think that they're doing all the other stuff that takes work? Or are they just sending a newsletter out?
Yeah.
Sending a newsletter out is great as an augmentation to those other things.
That's
but
what it
it's
is.
not a replacement for those other things. And so
it has to be a multi-layered approach.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so I would suggest you just get back in there and you just hit that multi-layered approach again, and just hit land, air, and sea. You're going to have success in that neighborhood again. So,
yeah. I think you're right. I'm going to do it better though. I'm going to do it better this time. I'm going to be a little bit more creative this time. And I think I'm going to have a much more clear value proposition in that newsletter. And I hate to, well, it'll just be, I'll be differentiate myself more clearly, like with who I am and what I stand for. Why Sac Platinum Realty, who are we, that kind of thing. Um, I think I need to get that message across much more clearly.
There's a newsletter that I used to use that I had really good results with. And if you go to clubwealth.com/newsletter, clubwealth.com/newsletter, you can get, it'll take you to the vendor that we used for ours. And it's
I'll check it out.
Oh, it's solid. Now, one of the most important things in how we did our newsletter was we'd make sure that we had our clients' names appearing in the newsletter as often as humanly possible. So we do things like we do a coloring contest for the kids, and every kid wins, right? I'm not a big participation medal guy. You know that. I'm a super accountability guy, and there are losers in life. But when it comes to my newsletter for my clients' database or my sphere of influence, and I want that person, well, guess what? I'm going to engage their kid. And so every kid wins like an ice cream cone at or Frosty or whatever at Wendy's or whatever, just for entering the contest. But then we also do like quiz question of the month, right? Where basically if you can Google, if you can figure out how to use Google, you can answer the question. And then we draw from those. And from those, we take them, we pick a winner, and then that winner gets a prize, and we mention their name in the next newsletter. Congratulations, Mark, you won the contest last month, and here was the correct answer, and here's your prize and all that. And then we do a friends referring friends section, and this was huge, right? So it'd say, hey, thanks, Mark, for referring Susie to us. We really love Susie. She's been looking at properties with us now. Just thank you for the referral, right? And so it's just very simple. Thank you, so-and-so, for referring so-and-so. And we list all everybody's names in there. And by the way, we do the same thing on social media. But the physical newsletter, and this is the thing, physical newsletters are getting, there's an interest in physical newsletters now. And I think the reason why is because people are getting burned out on electronics. I think people are just getting to that point where, they're using it all the time. They're married to their phone, and they get something physical and tangible, and that's different. It's a differentiator. Did you feel that?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference. And dude, so I would like, because here's the thing, if I'm going to compete against this guy that ripped off your old format, great, create a new format to go, like the one that we use.
Yeah.
And then just go over the top, right? It's like,
yeah.
Good luck, bro. That was me 3 years ago. Wait till you see me now, right? Like, I'm going to whoop your butt now. Anyway, I say that in a loving way, of course.
No, totally. No, in person. So I hold nothing against that person.
And who knows? I'm not suggesting that, just because there's truth in that, the only thing an agent likes better than the sound of their own voice is the sound of a competitor's body hitting the floor. I'm not saying that necessarily applies to you, but in this case, I say, go crush them, Mark. So, all right, let's fast forward. I want to talk to you about a couple other topics really quick. I know we're running short on time, so I'll make this fast. But I want to talk about this lawsuit, this NAR lawsuit. What's going on with this thing? All of a sudden, there's been a bunch of people settled in NAR,
Sure.
and all of a sudden the plaintiff's first round of lawsuit. Where do you think this goes? Is buyer agency a thing of the past? Where do you think this goes?
Yeah, I think that this may, buyer's agency will still be in there. I think ultimately we're going to see, because they're going to decouple the buyers from the listing agent, because the listing broker is the one that pays the buyer's agent. We're going to decouple that. And I think that what's going to end up happening is that you're going to see agents are going to get trained. It is going to be now standard practice to have a buyer broker agreement signed with that. It's going to be stated on there, which is completely negotiable. And then that's going to get incorporated into the offer. And then the seller is going to consider it when considering their net. I think that's we'll see at that point, because what I would hate to see is now that the seller is going to be countering that aspect of it, and now it's forcing the buyer to come out of pocket with additional costs. And that's the part that I'm unclear how that would play out, because there's some buyers just can't afford to come out of pocket those additional costs.
Okay, but wouldn't you agree though, Mark, that, by and large in most transactions that, the buyers and the sellers now, and I'm saying this is, today, this wasn't a year ago, but today they're tapping that seller for everything they can get. They're tapping them for closing costs. They're tapping them for
Yeah.
for work that needs to be done to the house, all that stuff. So they can
Yeah.
get in for as little cash as possible. And frankly, sellers are conceding nowadays. True or false?
True.
Yeah. And so I think that was a function of the market, right? And what's going on in the market. I mean,
That's very true. That's very true. But you know what I would love to see happen with the precedents that has now been set? I think NAR should countersue the National Bar, because for their price fixing, when they work on these contingencies, are they not all the same?
they're basically, depending on what type of lawsuit it is, there's
They're all
standard commissions.
Is
for
there
all
not
kinds of
price fixing there? I think
Of
there should be a
course.
countersuit, with the precedents established of what they have done to sue them now, for all the attorneys. I like that idea.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, though, as much as I'd love to say that's got legs, I don't know, man. Somehow I think they'd squeak out of that and somebody's going to end up wasting a lot of money, but you never know. I think we haven't even seen where this is all going to go yet. I think this could permeate multiple industries. It could be a lot of industries. I think that this could have a major impact on the real estate industry. I personally, though, don't think that it's going to be a bad thing. And here's why. I think that, smart agents, they adjust, they adapt, they improvise, they overcome. They figure out ways to be successful. They reinvent themselves constantly. And I think those that do that, they're going to be very, very successful, because I think that as things change and as agents now have to learn how to go articulate their value to a buyer, and convince her that, hey, I'm the person for the job. Let me show you why. And by the way, here's a buyer agency agreement we need to sign so that we can engage my services.
I'm not a door opener, right? That you
right.
have to that, like, and to of the public who doesn't understand what it is that we do, it's not their fault.
No.
It's our fault not accurately. Look, on top of that, I'm a firm believer in having other understand not just what you do, but who you are, what you stand for, what is your mission, what is your vision. Like, people rally behind a common cause. People, if you are, if I want to buy a home in a certain part of town, you immediately think of a certain person who just specializes in that. And is known, it goes to what you've always said, which is it's better to be a specialist than a generalist. And it is beyond just a listing agent versus buying agent, but it's like this kind of listing agent, this kind of buying agent. When you're really able to, like for me, I was Mr. Anatolia. If you want to buy a home in Anatolia, that's the person you need to talk to. Like, there's no question. And so there is no question about, what I charge or anything like that. They want my knowledge. They know they need to go through me to get to, the knowledge of the neighborhood.
Right.
So it is, what are you doing to establish yourself and develop a reputation? Not just, I go everywhere to everyone at all the time. And it doesn't even have to be that geographic thing. It can be, I know this guy around, he's big about, that's his thing. On his for sale sign, he has information on and things like that. It's like, who does he resonate with?
Absolutely. Dog people, right? That's
Totally.
absolutely true. I think about, I've got a buddy that specializes down in Thousand Oaks. He specializes in working with athletes, and he crushes it on working with professional athletes. Well, why? Because that's all he does. That's the niche he focuses on. You could say that all kinds of niches. And, the fact of the matter is, and you've heard the cliche, but it's true, that the riches are in the niches, right? Now, does that preclude you from working the whole state? No. Does that preclude you from working in a large geographic area with all kinds of different people? No. But what you need to do is every person, when they see your marketing, they need to see that marketing in terms of, oh, he specializes in what's most important to me. So this person might see that as being Anatolia, and this other person over here, they might see you as being the guy that works with dog people, or this person over here might say, well, no, this is the guy that works with people that have like to vacation in Maui or whatever. It doesn't matter what the freaking thing is. But you can have multiple campaigns running at the same time with all these different niches, so that niche thinks you're the guy for that niche.
I've got the Anatolias, I've got the investors, right?
That's right.
That's my thing. Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so now what that really means is you've got to make sure you're doing a great job of segmenting your audience, both in your CRM and on your social media. And so one of the things that I would begin to do is I would begin to build lists inside your social media as well as in your CRM so that you can highly target the marketing to each one of these different groups of people and ensure that, hey, if I'm an Anatolia person, I'm getting all Anatolia all the time. If I'm an investor, I'm getting all this investor stuff all the time. That's what I get from Mark. My investors don't get Anatolia. My Anatolia people don't get my investor stuff unless I can opt them in. Now, occasionally I'll throw out a lead magnet to my Anatolia group saying something about investing because that's a very common topic.
That's right.
And something that appeals to a mass audience. So I'll throw a little lead magnet out there, and anybody that bites on this, I'll also tag them as being part of my investor group, and they'll get both. But most of the people in Anatolia are just going to get Anatolia. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do.
That's a great move, dude. I'm telling you, I think that's going to take you to the next level. All right, we've just got 2 minutes left. So let's see. What's it? Let's I want to do it really quick because we got to do it super fast because we're short on time. So very succinctly, either a new agent getting in the business or really anybody that's in a position in their business right now where they're feeling stuck and they've got a way to get unstuck to take it to that next level and stay in this business and be successful in it. What's your advice to them?
First of all, get proactive. Mm-hmm. Pick something that you're good at, whether it is open houses or whether it is working your sphere of influence or whatever it is. What is the one thing that you're good at that won't suck your energy that you could do 10 hours a day? You have to ask yourself that really important question, and then go for it. Go all in, like your back is against the wall. Like if you don't get an escrow tomorrow, or if you don't sign a listing agreement tomorrow, that you're going out of business. So where is that next that next buyer referral, buyer agency agreement going to come from? Is it going to come from your cell phone? Then go through your contacts. Is it come from working open houses and find a vacant home and sit there all day, and see what you come up with?
Dude, I love it. I love that. I love the way you put it in terms of find something that you could do for 10 hours a day and not get worn out doing it. Like you'd be 10 hours a day. I like that a lot. So that's great advice. I think too many people think, well, I've got to have all these different, streams of income. They've read the book Multiple Streams of Income by my friend Bob Allen, and they start thinking, well, I got to have all these different streams. No, you got to get really good at one freaking thing first. And once you've gotten good at that and you've automated, limited everything you can with regards to that, now we can talk about moving on to the next thing and adding more to it. So that's it. I love that. And finally, Mark, what I want to know from you is 2 things. 1, if there was one last piece of advice you could give everybody watching this, what would it be? And then 2, tell us if somebody wants to connect with you, how would we get a hold of you?
Oh, great. So, my advice was what I just said. Now, that is the thing that I've been preaching. That's the thing. I just sat down had a one-on-one with somebody yesterday, and it was like, if you need to get money now, what are you going to do? If your life depended on it, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go with that? Mm-hmm. And ask yourself that question and figure it out. It doesn't matter. Like, swallow that pride, make those phone calls, ask for the business if that's what it takes. I think we all have our sphere of influence that we neglect, and sometimes to our own detriment. And I am guilty of it. Okay.
Okay. So before you go into the next piece, I want to ask you a follow-on question on that.
Okay.
Top 3 lead sources. You just made me think about this. Rapid fire. What are your top 3 lead sources today?
For our team, it's going to be ZillowFlex. It's going to be sphere of influence, and number 3 will probably be my farm.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. So now so you cover Sacramento, but you also cover a little wider area than that. How far do you go?
Well, if we're working with investors, we go everywhere. That's the nature of working with investors. You're really not limited to a geographic area. Right. Our primary, we're in the Sacramento MSA, going to the foothills, going to South Lake Tahoe. We're a member of the South Lake Tahoe MLS over there. Going down into the foothills in the Central Valley, Amador, Calaveras County, all of that. So we have a pretty large range up and down the central part of California.
Okay, good stuff. And how would somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to send you a referral, pick your brain? How would they get a hold of you? Yeah,
website is sacplatinumrealty.com. You could add me on Facebook, Mark Daya, Sac Platinum Realty. My cell phone number is 916-769-8118.
Love it. And by the way, folks, Mark is also a Club Wealth coach. So for those of you that are considering coaching with Club Wealth, or that already are, if you're looking for that next level coach, if you're looking, then reach out to us. We'll get you connected with Mark. And by the way, if you're ever wondering how you get a hold of us, just go to clubwealth.com. And please, if you're getting value out of these podcasts, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We want to connect with you. We want to bring you great value at every turn, and we want to go deep on the topics that matter to you. So Mark Daya, thank you very, very much, Coach Mark, for being here and for bringing a ton of value today. Super appreciate you, brother. Love you. And hey, I can't wait to hear how it goes in that, going back into that farm area again and rekindling those relationships. I'm dying to hear your results. So keep us posted.
You got it. I'll let you know.
Awesome. Thanks.